I'm Julie Baumgardner, and this is the Marriage on the Daily podcast, the podcast designed to give you tools and encouragement to help you do married well on the daily. Because after all, it isn't the grand gestures that make or break your marriage. It's actually what you do or don't do on the daily that either builds a strong foundation or chips away at your core. You can do this, and I'm here to help. Welcome to Marriage on the Daily. I'm your host, Julie Baumgardner. My guests today are Sean and Lanetta Reed, and I am so excited to have them with me. They are the founders of a ministry called Our Couple Goals, and it's really designed to help couples in every season of marriage to build a strong marriage relationship. They have a podcast by the same name, Our Couple Goals. They've been married for 27 years. They have 3 adult children, and they are the authors of Marriage in Transition, Creating Connection Through Uncontrollable Change. I am so excited to have you guys on today to just talk about all things marriage. I know you guys have a story. I would love for you to share some of that with us. And then also just to talk about this whole concept of marriage in transition and dealing with uncontrollable change, because I think that's the reality. You never know what is going to break, right?
Oh, absolutely. I like to say marriage is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. So, yeah. But before we get started, Julie, thank you so much for having us on here. It's just been a pleasure getting to know you over the years. And so thank you for allowing this. So, yeah, we've been married 27 years. Fun fact, we got married at 18 years old. One thing I don't recommend to many people to do that, but by the grace of God, it worked out for us.
Yeah. I think we not only got married at 18, but then we also had 3 kids within 3 years.
Yeah.
So
hello.
yes.
Yeah.
So by 21, we had 3 children. We were married. We had also moved to 2 new cities.
Yep.
And so we found ourselves moving from St. Louis, Missouri to Indianapolis, Indiana, and then we moved to Texas. So we are the king and queen of transition.
Gosh, that's a lot in a very short amount of time.
Yes, that's a lot in a short amount of time, but also that's a lot for 2 18-year-olds because we really didn't know ourselves, right? We were still growing. But I know for me, a lot of the times I had to put who I was on the back burner because I had to be a mom and had to be a wife. And so identifying my identity came much later. But yeah, 3 kids in under 3 years, that was a big thing. During that time, we also struggled with a miscarriage. Our last one was a twin. And so the other one didn't make it. And so dealing with that was a struggle as well.
Yeah. So in the initial stages, I think like when you're in it, you see it differently because you're just kind of living through it. And so it's harder to like process the reality of who you are, where you are, what's actually happening in you mentally, physically. And then afterwards, it's kind of like all of a sudden, if it's a well-examined life, you can get some wisdom out of that. And I think that Lanetta and I, through the years, have had these moments where we've been able to look back over it and process it and say, okay, wait a second, what was going on in me at the time? What was happening with us at the time? And Lanetta just said something that I think was like really valuable. She spoke to discovering her identity. And so I think if I could encourage couples with this one thing, the greater that you know who you are and who you were designed to be, I think the more solidarity within the relationship begins to emerge between a husband and a wife. I think that knowing who you are, it anchors you in a way that that solidifies the relationship because you have 2 whole people that are working together to forge this meaningful future that without that real solidarity within your own personhood, it leads to an imbalance because you'll be reaching to pull things out of them that really should be anchored within yourself.
Isn't that interesting? I mean, I just think about what you just said. There is a confidence and a security that comes from knowing who you are and whose you are
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
versus feeling like, oh, I need to rely on them for my identity and to be
Absolutely.
confident.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, that got muddled quite a bit at the beginning. And so, you know, Sean is, I want to say, the more expressive one in the relationship. And so me growing into my identity, I kind of merged like who I was supposed to be or how I was supposed to act with him. And that didn't sit right in the marriage. And it certainly didn't sit right with just me becoming who God created me to be. And so that was probably one of the biggest adjustments or concepts that I had to learn from and grow into. And so I would say the more he became unhappy or imbalanced in just himself, then I was more imbalanced and unhappy in myself. So there was an unhealthy enmeshment.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's and to like make this like really plain, like I would get frustrated if, especially early on in our relationship, with our communication styles. For me, I came from a background where my family map was one where we were very loud. If you thought something, you just said it. You kind of argued things out rather than really reach compromise. It was more about what's right, what's wrong, and who was right, who was wrong. It wasn't about really like compromise and let's sit down and talk about this. How do you feel about it? You know what I mean? We weren't talking about.
It was more so like, what you mean?
Yeah, what you mean? Who you talking to? You know what I mean? So it was a lot of aggression. And so I came into the marriage like it was kind of like when we were dating, she was more quiet and reserved. So there wasn't as much conflict. I think the more that we had real life situations to deal with, the more pressure came, the more we had to talk about. That was not about where we going to go eat tonight, where we going to go on a date, you know, what park are we going to go have a picnic? You know, the dynamic shifted to, okay, we got real bills, we got hospital visits, we got, you know, doctor's appointments, we have all of these issues. And now that type of pressure created a lot of conversations that we never had prior to being married. And all of a sudden we have differences of opinion on it. And this person started to emerge out of her that I was irritated by because she talked more. She was more assertive. She had opinions about stuff. You know what I mean? And so the more aggressive I became, the more she withdrew. And for me, I was like, talk, say things, you know, speak up. And she wouldn't. And little did I know, our personalities were clashing at that moment. So as we're talking about like discovering who you are, part of that journey is learning what's healthy about your personality and what are some things that you picked up maybe from your upbringing or from your past pain that you're identifying as yourself, but in reality is just a trait or a bad habit that you picked up along the way. So
Okay, I have questions. First question is, it feels like, and I think this is just so interesting because it's real, I think, for all of us. There is this dating scenario and you feel like you're making decisions and you're having conversations about all the things. And then you get catapulted into real life, adulting, if you will, with the bills and the children. And you're just like, oh my goodness, this is really different than I anticipated.
Yep.
So I'm curious, in your first 5 years, you said you moved and you had the 3 children. Did you have family around, or were you figuring it out kind of on your own? And you have talked about this identity thing.
Yes.
How did you come to realize this is something we need to work on? How did you do that? So did you have family support, and how did you get to this identity place?
Yeah, so we did not have family support. So our journey from St. Louis, both of us born and raised in St. Louis, all the way to Texas, we were on our own.
You literally moved away from the family
Yeah,
support.
we moved away from them. I would say down the line, we realized that that was one of the biggest blessings in disguise that really could have happened to us, because it caused us to turn and look at one another and have uncomfortable conversations and not run away and not run and tell someone, but it caused us to also stand on our feet and also to look to God. So we didn't have anyone family-wise. I would say it did make it harder when it came to having our kids and not having babysitters and, growing up around family. So it was kind of like our little nest.
Yeah. And in that, what began to emerge out of our dysfunctional communication, and I think our coping mechanisms with it. So fight, flight, we would get into confrontations. I would be more aggressive. She would withdraw, shut down, not speak. That would make me more frustrated. I would speak louder. And so we had this toxic, I'm a fighter, she's a flighter. And all of a sudden we found ourselves in the pastor's office, and he was sitting with us, and he just so happened to be at that time really fascinated by the DISC personality profile.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was the first time. So this is back in 2002.
Yeah.
And he gave us the assessment, and he said, Sean, this is you. And I'm a high DI. And at the time, Lanetta,
that personality.
oh, do you? Are you familiar? So for those who may not know, that means that you're a dominant driver,
Very assertive,
high influencing, persuasive person. Lynette, her personality at that time, it has since evolved. But at the time, it came out as an SC, which is essentially the opposite.
Totally.
She wanted steadiness, stability, and she wanted traditional rules, and I break rules. And so that when he put that out in front of us, it was kind of like a mirror.
Yeah.
That for me, for the first time in my life, it was like, oh, Sean, you have problems. And God can help you with those. But I had just never seen it. I didn't know how much of my habits were toxic. And I just wanted Lynette to either I wanted to be proven right through fact fighting and arguing. And that was a huge tension because we had so many decisions to make at that time. And so since we couldn't talk, we were having stagnation, you know what I mean? And it wasn't very much shared vision, even though we had similar values, how to achieve those values. We couldn't get past the communication gap. So we took the personality assessment, and all of a sudden it was like we were on paper, and the pastor was like, Sean, it's you. I was like, no, it's not. And he looked at Lynette and he was like, Lynette.
And I was shaking my head. Yes, so hard. And I felt seen and understood. And I was like, yes, this is what I'm dealing with. And that's not to say that all the issues were on him.
Right.
Right.
But I felt like it was an open door finally for us to be able to get traction. I think that's what both of us had, was we wanted desperately to get on the same page. We just didn't know how to get over this personality hurdle.
Yeah. So that was the beginning. And then I think the next thing that really shifted our perspectives, that same pastor, we were on staff at that time. And that pastor, he came to us and he was like, Sean, I want you to lead small groups at the church. And I want you to lead it with this curriculum. I had never seen it before. He just dropped it on my lap. And it was Celebrate Recovery. And so I was like, what is this? But anything that I study, I don't want to be a hypocrite. I want to really like immerse myself into it. And then all of a sudden I start going through and I started realizing so much about inner healing and freedom and forgiving, and growing beyond, I think, the pain of the past. And I had a lot of pain and a lot of traumatic things that had taken place that was still now impacting our relationship. So that began to transform.
Before you keep going, for those people who may not be familiar with Celebrate Recovery, can you just give a short explanation?
Yep. Celebrate Recovery would be it's like a play on Alcoholics Anonymous. It's it's like a 12-step program that would help a person understand that we're powerless to control our tendencies to do the wrong things and that our lives are unmanageable, which means we need to seek a higher power to release our sense of control. And he then becomes our ultimate guide and informs us of who we are, how we are to live, and how to live in community with other people by bearing the fruit of Christ on the inside of our lives. So hopefully that's a good enough summation.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Overtly faith-based.
Yes,
absolutely.
100%.
100. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that began to shift, I think, another level of like, okay, we needed inner healing and we needed to understand our personalities. And then the rest was Lanetta and I then began to immerse ourselves in psychology, in understanding healthy communication. That led to our first book that we wrote. We did a workshop and it was called Not Just Roommates. And the whole concept of Not Just Roommates was that you need to live a life that is very shared vision, built on shared values, and how to learn to allow, I think, the fruit of the Spirit to be able to show up within your relationship.
Yeah. And so it was taking what was in my heart and what was in his heart and coming together and writing down a vision. So a vision for your family, a vision for your finances. We kind of, like Sean said earlier, we had very similar values, but putting those values to paper and a plan we hadn't done up until this point. And so we actually sat down at a Denny's and we pulled out a napkin and we started writing down, okay, what is it that you want to do or want to see or where you want to go? And we would just write it down on a napkin. And I wish we had that napkin to this day. But that napkin, I would say, turned into really a life of a journey and an adventure of not just, you know, kind of going different places and experiencing things in the world, but it really became an adventure of faith and challenges and allowing God just to take us on this journey. And we've done quite a bit of things that were on that napkin, so much so that we turned that questionnaire or that napkin into a workbook that now we really encourage couples to grab if you're wanting to get on the same page, highlight and figure out what's in your heart and merge it together to where you have a streamlined process of walking out that vision over the next 3 to 5 years. And so it's something that we do every year. And so that resource is called the Our Couple Goals
Retreat
book. And you can find that on Amazon. But it's something that we do every single year. And it's just been easy for us.
I love that so much. And so I'm kind of doing the timeline here. Was that in year 7 of your marriage?
You got it.
Yeah.
You actually, that's really good.
When we napped in the week,
That's impressive.
Well, I mean, I was just thinking, I love what you said, Lanetta, about you share the same values. Because I think a lot of times we come into marriage and we're not exactly sure why we're not feeling like we're on the same page because, like, gosh, I mean, we had so many conversations and we do share the same values, except for we are clearly kind of missing each other. And then when you sat down and kind of got it out of your head and on paper, this is what I feel like God's telling me. This is where I feel like God's leading me, or this is what I'm passionate about. That really makes a difference, especially for your spouse to hear that. You know,
it almost makes it real.
Yeah.
Which can be very scary for some people. But I really do believe that's the power of when two people are united. It can kind of grab your hand and say, we're going to do this together.
I mean, think about it. How can two walk together except they be in agreement? Right. Yeah.
I was thinking about conversations Jay and I have had, and to your point of it makes it real. Just hearing what was on his heart and what he's dreaming about, I'm like, yes, let's pray about that. I feel like we could do that. And I feel like God is guiding us towards that, which is really different from keeping it to yourself and hoping that it's going to work out.
Yep. I think that a lot of times we don't share our desires because we're either afraid of how the other person will respond, or we're too busy to pause and allow the right questions to be asked so that the heart's desires could emerge. Or we think that the communication is so toxic that I won't be received well if I share my heart. And we often say this to couples, like we lead marriage intensives. So we sit down with couples, 2 days, 7 hours per day, and we help walk them through communication, conflict resolution. And one of the things that we notice during that process is that sometimes spouses don't steward well the vulnerability of the other person.
Is that not true? Yes.
Guilty
as charged.
I was about to say, yeah, me too.
So we have to learn that, though. I don't think that it should be. I know some people, because of how they were raised, maybe they're more acquainted with what it is to be sensitive to the other person's heart's desires or their passions, and so as they're sharing, they're like, "Give me more." But then some of us, we will fact check every statement. We're correcting their words while they're not using correct grammar. And so we're going to one up them and correct their grammar as they're talking. And so it doesn't feel safe.
Yeah.
And so getting to that dream stage where we're talking about the future and what goals are there.
So many hurdles.
There's so many hurdles to it. And so after a while, what ends up happening is apathy. And people just kind of acquiesce within their marriages and settle for going to work, dealing with traffic, coming home, feed the kids, go to bed, do it again, go to church, come home, do it again. Yes. And so that's where we kind of come in and say, let's challenge that dynamic. If God brought you two together, there is something meaningful for you all to contribute to in the world. And I think those first years, the positive things that Lanetta and I did, we did take some risk. We did take some risk to be where we thought God was leading us. And I would, to this day, 27 years later, I'm grateful that we did the brave stuff, even if sometimes it didn't work out perfectly. We did move together. We were drawn towards higher purpose and a calling that has led to us literally impacting millions of people's lives around the world. That would have never happened if we'd have just kind of passively acquiesced to what was happening in life around us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I love that you weren't perfect. You were trying to figure it out, and you didn't quit in the middle. You kept putting one foot in front of the other. And gosh, I couldn't agree more. The whole vulnerability piece. The goal is for your marriage to be the safest space on earth, and for you to know that your spouse isn't going to trounce all over your heart when you say something, whether you think it's really a dumb idea, or something that actually could work. The vulnerability piece, just being able to say something and have my husband listen and tune into my heart, makes me love him more.
Yeah. I think a few tips that can help with this. Number one, I think that realizing that you all are one, but not the same, is important. So, God merges us together at marriage. And when you said, "I do," you came together as one, but Lynette still has her uniqueness. I have my uniqueness. And so we both can have opinions, and they should be able to be difference of opinion, but we can merge those to form what is going to be the vision for our relationship. So I think that that's a really big point. The moment, I think initially when we did the personality assessment, I realized not only were we different, how we saw life was different, how we handled conflict was different. And in my brain, I was so wired to be right that it was almost like a competition within the marriage, instead of recognizing that God gave you different to complement you. He literally made Adam and Eve opposite of one another. He made them different so that they can create new life and they can give birth to rule and subdue and stamp God's image all over the world. So in every decision that has to be made, new job, where you're going to raise your kids, new city, whatever the transition of life that you may be going through, it takes agreement.
Yeah.
And so you need this shared dynamic. And I think that if it's not a competition and it's more complementary, I think that all of a sudden something in you can just rest. You can settle yourself and give attention to the other person so that you can begin to share those dreams in a non-hostile environment. You can let your guard down, you know.
I often ask couples, do you want to be right or do you want to be in a relationship? Because
Two different things.
yeah, it really is. And when you don't see it as a competition to be right and more of a, hey, I really want to hear your heart and I want you to hear my heart so that we can figure out the best way forward for us.
Mhm.
I'm just like, preach when you said we are coming together as one, but that doesn't mean that either one of us loses who we are. And I just feel like that is the mystery of marriage, that God's like, yes, I made you. I totally made you exactly as you are. And I'm asking you to come together and figure out how to do married well together. And
Yeah.
a lot of that means growth and change.
Growth, change, and a lot of self-sacrifice every single day. Being able to, marriage is putting yourself in a position to where you wake up every day to serve, not to be served.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we live in a very individualistic society where it is all about what I can get, me, my agenda. And marriage is the complete opposite.
Yeah.
It is, how can I best serve you? How can I love you? What is it that you need? What's your vision? And how can I help make your vision come to pass? And so that concept right there, you know, being able to serve or be served will, from the jump, will disqualify you. So if you're not ready to serve another person every single day, then you might want to press pause on getting married.
I actually had somebody tell me one time in a session, I got married to be served. And male, female, I mean, everybody could say that. If you don't recognize what it looks like to come 100% all in, wholeheartedly ready to engage with another person and see what God has for you in a relationship where, hey, my goal is to see you through the eyes of Christ, and to every day ask, how do I engage well? How do I love well? What does that look like? Like showing up as the best version of me and being all in, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think that I've had to grow into that over time, and still to this day, that is my goal, is to get to, I have to reset that mindset constantly.
Yeah.
It's not, because I am by nature self-protective and self-focused. And so I think that all of us have a little pride in us. And if we're not careful, it's one book I read on humility, and he said, the moment that you think you're humble, you're no longer humble. And so there's always this need to continually reset and restore my mind to say, hey, we can build something together if there are no big eyes and little U's, you know?
Yes, isn't that true? So I'm curious. I ask everybody this at the end of the podcast, and we've covered so much great ground today. This has been awesome. But I'm curious, what would you tell couples practically? Hey, consider doing this on the daily because it will be significantly impactful to your marriage.
I'll go first.
Okay, good, because I have two, and so maybe you'll say one.
You got two. She said you got.
I know, that's all.
Hey.
Okay. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna give you this one, and it's gonna be like a shameless plug. But remember how we talked about it at the beginning? We did the personality assessment, and what took us 7 years to do, we created an assessment, a personality assessment, to help you do it within a matter of minutes. So we actually have, and our couple goes app. So you can go to app.ourcouplegoals.com and you can take our personality assessment, and it's free. So you can take the personality assessment. It will help you to see yourself as you are within your relationship. And then your spouse can take it and they can see their unique design in the relationship, how they communicate, how they show up. And then you can merge those two together, and it'll give you the conversations you need to have, personality traits to look out for, warning signs, ... So date ideas, conversation starters based on your unique personality.
Man, that sounds amazing.
I wasn't thinking that, but yes, that was a good one. What I was going to say.
You get yours and a bonus. How about that?
Okay, mine and a bonus.
Okay.
So what I would say is have daily communication, daily check-in. There's a statistic out there. I think it's like couples spend on average 25 to 27 minutes a week having intimate communication. So what I mean by intimate is, how are you doing? What's a win for you? Like, tell me what's in your heart versus, are you going grocery shopping? Who's picking up Jimmy? What are we going to do this weekend? Right? Those are two totally different conversations. So being able to sit down 15, 20 minutes a day, being able to check in with one another. But then another aspect that you could add within this 15, 20-minute check-in is have fun. There's so much drama going on in the world.
There's plenty of it.
That the last thing you need is add additional drama into your home.
Yeah.
And so being able to crack jokes with one another, have fun, watch a silly video together and talk about it. But I would say communication and have fun mixed with the relationship personality assessment. That's a good starting point.
That's great. Thank you all so much for being with me today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you all for listening, tuning in. If this resonated with you, if you have friends who are in the early years of marriage, I would love it if you would share this podcast with your friends, because that's how we grow. And you can also find resources and updates on marriageonthedaily.com. We'll make sure that we add y'all's website to the website. And until next time, remember, it's the little things that matter daily in your marriage.